They tell you time is a thief, stealing everything you love. But after 82 years, I've learned they're dead wrong. Time isn't a thief. It's a filter, a relentless one. It washes away everything that wasn't real to begin with, the noise, the pretense, the things you thought mattered. This room used to be loud with ambition and clutter. Now it's just me, the dust motes dancing in afternoon light, and silence so deep I can finally hear what my life was trying to tell me all along. If you're exhausted from running races with no finish lines, stay with me. I've got 10 minutes of hard-won clarity that might save you 40 years of detours. Subscribe if you want the unvarnished truth about what actually lasts when everything else burns away. This study is my museum now. Every object here survived the filter. That chipped teacup with the faded rose pattern. My wife pressed it into my hands in 1968, the morning after our first real fight. Still holds heat. The book with the broken spine and coffee stains? I've read it 11 times. Each time it says something different because I'm different. Nothing here is perfect. That's exactly why it stayed. I spent 40 years as that man you see running through the city at dawn. The one in the pressed suit, checking his watch every 5 minutes. Convinced his legacy was what he built, with brick and mortar and balance sheets. I was the captain of my ship, steering hard through every storm. Or so I told myself in the mirror each morning. My bank account grew fat. My title got longer and more impressive on business cards I handed out like they were lottery tickets. But my wife started eating dinner alone, the food getting cold while she waited for a man who was always one meeting away from coming home. I missed my son's baseball games because I was building something important. The irony cuts deep now. I can't remember what that important thing was. Not even the outline. But here's what haunts me in the best possible way. I remember a Tuesday morning in 1973 with absolute clarity. The toast was burning, black smoke billowing from the toaster, kitchen filling with that acrid smell. My wife laughed so hard she snorted, then laughed harder at the snort. I can still hear that sound echoing in my chest. That moment, crystal clear, like it happened this morning. The big deal I closed that same week, the one I stayed up 3 nights preparing for, gone like smoke, evaporated completely. I started as a carpenter, worked with my hands, built things I could touch and walk through and know were solid. Then I got ambitious, traded sawdust for suits, offices with views, spreadsheets instead of sketches. I thought I was evolving, climbing some invisible ladder everyone said led to success. Now I see I was just complicating what was already complete. The carpenter knew more about life than the executive ever did. At 62, my heart staged a revolt, tried to quit the whole operation, ambulance sirens, hospital lights, the full dramatic production. I remember lying on that gurney, chest tight as a vice, thinking one thought on repeat. If I die right now, what was the point of any of it? And I had no answer. Nothing. Just blank space where meaning should have been. That terrified me more than the chest pain ever could. Part of me wanted to storm back to the office the moment they removed the IV, prove I was still the captain, still in control. But another part, a quieter voice I'd been drowning out for decades with meetings and ambition, whispered something different. Let go. I didn't listen at first. Ego doesn't surrender easily. I tried to rebuild the empire, reconstruct the identity, but my heart, the physical organ that had betrayed me, knew better than my ego ever would. I sold the business, every share, every asset, the whole apparatus. I know that sounds dramatic, like burning ships on a beach, but it felt like finally taking off a suit of armor I'd been wearing so long I'd forgotten what my actual skin felt like. Suddenly I could breathe. Full breaths. Deep ones. My wife took my hand across the kitchen table and said 2 words. Welcome back. I didn't even realize I'd been gone. That's when I started noticing the pattern emerging from the chaos. The things that actually mattered, the moments that survived the filter, had nothing to do with my bank account or my title. They were small, ordinary, easy to miss if you're moving too fast. A laugh over burnt toast. The specific way my son said the word dad when he was 6. The smell of fresh sawdust. These were the keepers. Everything else was just noise I'd mistaken for a symphony. A psychologist friend told me something that rattled around in my head for weeks. She said we're not really individuals. Not in the way we think. We're collages of everyone we've ever loved. I see my father every single time I tie my shoes using the knot he taught me on a Saturday morning 50 years ago. I hear my mother when I hum without thinking in the kitchen, the same wordless tune she hummed folding laundry. They're not gone. They're right here, in my hands, in my voice, in the way I see the world. Every afternoon at 3 I pour 2 cups of tea, 1 for me, 1 for her. She died 3 years ago on a Thursday that felt like any other Thursday until it wasn't. But I still push the 2nd cup across the table to her chair. People think I'm losing my mind, slipping into some gentle dementia. But I've never been more present. I'm not alone here. I'm hosting a reunion every single day with everyone I've ever loved. Loneliness is a strange teacher, one I didn't sign up for but learned from anyway. At first it hits like cold water, shocking and unwelcome. You want to fight it, run from it, fill the silence with anything. But you adjust. Your eyes adjust to the dark, and then you realize something unexpected. You're not alone. Everyone you've ever lost is sitting in that empty chair. The grief transforms into companionship. The absence becomes a different kind of presence. If I could sit down with the 40-year-old version of myself, the one running himself, ragged chasing shadows, here's what I'd say. You're not the captain. You never were. You're a passenger on a river that flows whether you paddle or not. And the exact moment you stop fighting the current is the moment you start to float. The meeting doesn't matter. The title is vapor. The corner office is a cage you built yourself. Go home. Make your wife laugh. Burn the toast together. That's the whole game. That's all there ever was. The rain stopped an hour ago and I didn't even notice. Too lost in thought. Clouds broke apart. Light came streaming through in shafts. That's what happens when you finally stop fighting. The storm ends and you realize it was never about surviving the storm with white knuckles and gritted teeth. It was about learning to sit with it. Let it wash over you. Trust that storms always end. Being 82 isn't the end of the book. It's the final chapter where all the plot twists suddenly make sense. All those betrayals and detours, they were necessary. They were the story. All that suffering I thought was pointless, it taught me what joy actually is, not the cheap counterfeit I'd been chasing. I wouldn't go back and change a single page, because every wrong turn led exactly here. And here is exactly where I needed to arrive. My son called yesterday evening, voice shaking slightly. He said, "Dad, I quit my job. I'm going to spend more time with my kids while they still want me around." I didn't say congratulations. I didn't offer advice. I just said 2 words. Welcome back. He's learning at 45 what took me 62 years and a heart attack. That's my real legacy. Not the buildings I built or the money I made, the pattern I broke, the cycle I ended. Was it worth it? The 40 years of running, the heart attack, the dinners eaten alone, the baseball games missed? I honestly don't know. Maybe I needed to build the empire just to learn how to let it crumble. Maybe the long way around was my way. Maybe there are no shortcuts to wisdom, only expensive lessons you pay for with time you can't get back. I can't tell you your path. only that wherever it leads, if you let it, it gets lighter at the end. If you're still young enough that your knees don't creak when you stand, don't wait until they do to learn how to dance. Feel the cold air on your face. Forgive that person you've been holding hostage in your mind. Go home early and make someone laugh until they snort. Being 82 is when it all makes sense. But you don't have to wait that long. The filter works just as well at 30 if you let it. Now go. Close this video. The world is waiting, and so are the people you love. And if this landed somewhere deep, subscribe. Let's keep this conversation going. There's more where this came from.